Welcome to Football Forecast Weekly, the most popular football program in America, featuring Dennis Tobler and Fred Wallen.
Hello, football fans. I'm Dennis Tobler in Las Vegas, and this is Football Forecast Weekly. And we're very happy to be back with another edition of the show. We had a great week last week, and I do mean a great week. So before I go any farther, I want to bring on my guest host and my co-host, so to speak, and that's the sports guru of Sports Talk Radio, Mr. Fred Wallen. Fred can be heard every Friday night on Sports Overnight America on Sirius XM, 200 AM stations around the country and around the world, and on all of the apps like TuneIn and the Armed Forces Network, etc. So, Fred, welcome to the show. Thank you for contributing again, and I can't wait to get into it.
And, of course, you were on last week on Sports Overnight America. It's also on Saturday night, same time, same stations across America. Let me just say this one quick thing. Caleb Williams will not win the Heisman, and I do have the Heisman vote. USC lost again. How they lost is remarkable. If you put Whittingham on one side and Lincoln Riley on the other side, and everything being equal, Whittingham's going to win most of the time. In this case, USC obviously got more talent. Utah won't have their starting quarterback all year in Cameron Rising, and still the Utes find a way to win. So that's how my Saturday went. I mean, I'm a Bruin fan, so I didn't care one way or the other. But I'm just saying, Lincoln Riley was supposed to change USC. He didn't change it too much.
Not yet, anyway. And we know, I have to say this about Caleb Williams, right?
Yeah.
Okay, he was on the picture. His picture was on the cover of the Sports Collectibles and everything. And he won the Heisman Trophy last year. I think it all went to his head, because then I heard that when he gets drafted this year, he wants to be drafted by a team that's going to give him partial ownership in the team. Okay. He's got some of his fingernails painted and some of his fingernails not painted. And he really thinks he's hot shit. I mean, I don't know whether he's going to make it in the pros that big or not, but to go in there with the balls to say, hey, I want part ownership of your team if I'm going to play for you, that is the ultimate in either confidence or arrogance. I don't know what. But that's it for Caleb. He's done. He's out of the Heisman race. I don't think he cares. He's on to bigger and better things, NIL money and everything else. Before we go any further, I want to congratulate our own Las Vegas Aces, who won the WNBA championship this year, again, for the second straight time. And they didn't do it in an easy fashion, because they won the first two games at home, and then they had to go to New York to play the New York Liberty. And as of everybody that follows women's basketball knows, the league has stacked the New York Liberty team with talent to try to upset Las Vegas. And Las Vegas had two of their main players out, including Kelsey one of the Kelseys. Anyway, the point guard was out for that game, and one of the forwards was out, and the Aces went to New York and beat them by 1 point in one heck of a game. And we just had the parade here in Las Vegas yesterday for their championship, and the town goes nuts over it. So the Las Vegas is quickly becoming the city of champions. I mean, the WNBA champions for 2 years running now. I don't know who'll ever beat that women's team, because it is the best women's team that's ever been put together. It would beat the 1980s and 90 Russian teams all to hell. I'm telling you, there's not a better women's basketball team. And then I have to mention one more thing. The Golden Knights, they're the first team ever to win the Stanley Cup and then come back and win the first 6 games of the year the next season. So it looks like the Golden Knights and it looks like the Aces may be in for a long haul of hauling down some trophies.
And you think the Raiders will win the Super Bowl?
I was trying to avoid speaking about the Raiders because they're our embarrassment of the town. And we're real proud of the Aces and the Golden Knights, though. Okay, let's let's take a look at some of the football here this week. And we're going to have a little shortened schedule because we got so much on our plate to talk about that we need to get to it. The first matchup I want to bring up is Philadelphia. They're on the road. They're 7-point favorites over the Washington Commanders. And this game here, coming off of Philly's Monday night win where they beat Miami and looked very good doing it, the line went up from 5.5 to 6.5. The total, however, went down from 45 to 43.5. Before we go any further, I want to congratulate you, Fred. Most of those totals you picked the over on last week won, which was contrary to what's been going on in the season all year long, whereas it was 3-12 on the totals the week before. Last week, your overs that you've selected on the show all came through. So this matchup here looks like the total's going down. Not to lose track, it's the Eagles -7 at Washington. How do you see it?
All right, you presume going in, because Philadelphia is coming off that big win over Miami, that they wouldn't be as high this week. And they're not going to be as high this week, but they don't need to be as high this week. It's Washington. I think Philadelphia will cover. Again, Hurts got his revenge last week against Tua with the victory. You know what? It was 17-3. Next time you turn around at 17-17, and then they win, going away. They outplayed Miami. And, of course, Washington is just an average team at best, one of the bottom 5 or 6 in the National Football League, which will soon be the National Flag Football League in 50 years or so. But anyways, I'm taking Philadelphia, the Eagles, and I get it now because, as you indicated, opened 5.5. Then I saw it at 6 for a couple hours. Now you said it's 7. It's going to be more than a touchdown as far as game time is concerned. So I'm going with the Eagles and jump in now.
Yeah, we don't want to forget how bad Washington is. I mean, seriously, they're really bad. They've had one good game here or there. That's it. Philadelphia is starting to show their muster now, and I think they play up to the competition because they played very well against Miami. And while we're speaking about this, I have a bone to pick with you and Artie Source on our Sports Overnight America show on Friday when we did the show. You asked me with 30 seconds to go, if you had to pick a Super Bowl winner, who would you pick? And I said Miami, but I didn't get to finish it simply because they were 9-1 or 10-1 before the Philadelphia game. And if they won that, they would go down. But I didn't say that. And then I heard after I went off the air, you and Artie Source saying that I was wrong and Miami didn't have a shot at it. So I just wanted to bring that up for the public who listened to both of those shows, that I was a little hijacked on that one. Yeah, I still say Miami has a good shot to get to the Super Bowl. And Philadelphia, I've told you all year, last year they were on top of the bookies polls. They rate these teams. They don't care about anything but their ratings so they can put the point spreads up. And Philadelphia's been at the top of their ratings all year again this year. So we know they're one of the best teams. I, too, am going to take Philadelphia in a blowout in this matchup. I want to mention, too, that I think Gene Kosei III, he is going to go with Washington. So we've got a contradictory opinion here. And I wanted to mention Gene because he was dead right about the Indianapolis Colts last week, and a fluke kept them from winning the game straight up at plus 170, but they did cover the spread. So Gene's back on track in the winning form. So let's move on down off that game. That's about enough of it. Here we go to another big-time game, and I just heard Jerry Jones talking about it. The L.A. Rams are on the road to take on the Dallas Cowboys coming off their bye week. They're 6.5-point favorites. What do you think? 7-point favorites. It'd be 7 points.
Dallas. I think the Rams. McVay wants out. He's going to be out after this season for the Rams. The Rams have a couple of victories. Very fortunate to win. Sort of like interesting. Both Los Angeles teams have some wins that they really didn't deserve. I don't think they have a shot here. I think their rushing attack. Of course, they lose Williams. He's not going to be back. I think the Cowboys are playing better, and I think Prescott and company will score enough against the Rams to cover the spread. So I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm not a big fan of Jerry Jones, but his team's better than the LA Rams.
Yeah, honestly, this line here, I'm pretty sure 7 is going to be the solid number for this line. And yeah, the Rams have just disappointed the hell out of me, honestly. I think when they won the Super Bowl and Donald and some of them come out and says, I'm looking at retiring. Well, if they're looking at retiring, they're retired. And I think Donald has played in the middle of the LA line this year, just like he's retired. He hasn't stopped anybody. You know what I mean? Last week they ran right through the middle of the LA Rams, which hadn't been the case in the past years. So I think the LA Rams are about ready to maybe trade some things, maybe make some moves here because they didn't look good at all. You know as well as I do, it's very hard for me to take the Dallas Cowboys because I don't think Dak Prescott can perform under pressure. But with the Rams defense the way it is, and with the Cowboys coming off a week's bye, and even though Dak looked horrible in that last game, they got beat by 30 points or something like that. They're at home this week. They're going to get the jump on them. I think they're going to do it too. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to agree with you and take the Dallas Cowboys and lay the points in that one too. Well, on to the biggest surprise team of last week, the New England Patriots on the road to play the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are 9.5-point favorites here. That's down from 12.5 from last week. So they're giving New England a little bit of credit. I must say Belichick coached an excellent game. And I also will say that Buffalo's got some serious problems. So don't overreact on either side of that one. So let's go with the Miami Dolphins. We got the line at 9.5 right now. How do you see it?
I think Miami's going to score 40 to 50 points in this one. I think it was the Patriots' victory last week was an aberration. They had lost 3 in a row, and they were playing horribly. And that week, Belichick gets a new contract extension of 3 years. But in this case, Miami's going to be angry. They've got so many ways to score. And again, I think it was just an aberration. And things happen. I mean, folks, you got to hit 52.7% to come out even if you're betting straight up, if you're betting the points and things like this. Once in a while, things are going to happen. The Patriots should not have won last week. They did, but they're not winning this week. It's Miami all the way.
Well, it's going to be a sweep easy one this week, I guess, because I agree with you. And I think the line at 12.5 is a little closer than the line they have at 9.5 in this game. New England won't score much against Miami's defense, and Miami will score at will against New England. New England did all they had to do in winning that game against Buffalo. They're going to go now, take a deep breath, go out on the road and get hammered by Miami this week. So, yeah, it's easy pickings. There's a 4-teamer right there. We'll take the Dolphins in this one and lay the points at home. Easy win. Okay, one more before we go to break, and this is the Battle of New York. The Jets against the Giants. They both play at the same place. The Giants are listed as the home team. The Jets are a 3-point favorite here.
Usually, if my history with this show and any show, I'm with the underdogs a lot. But again, I think the Jets are better than the Giants. I think Tyrod Taylor's played well for the Giants. The Jets have more ways to score and think they have a good enough defense. And so I can see a 24-14 victory for the Jets. I mean, I don't think there's any way you can make an argument right now that the Giants are equal to the Jets. I just don't think you can make that argument. I listen to WFAN now and then. I mentioned this a few times, and there's an argument to which team is really better. I don't think you can make an argument the Giants are better than the Jets. Waller is going to catch a couple passes. He caught a couple last week for the first time in a long, 3 or 4 weeks, but that's not going to be enough. With Wilson, I don't think people realize, Jarrett Wilson, how good he really is. And so Wilson to Wilson, I think the Jets will win.
Well, here we go. I'm going to agree with you again here. The Jets have much better defense. The Giants have no defense. Tyrod Taylor should have been the starting quarterback all year long, and they would be much better off. I don't care what they say about that Duke quarterback. I mean, Tyrod Taylor has been in the league a long time. He's not the greatest, but he still can run with the ball. He can move them down the field, and they played a lot better under him than they had prior in the year. But this week, it's going to be an all-out battle, and the Jets are going to take it. You're right. They're better on offense. They're better on defense. They're better on their special teams play. And in this matchup, I see it the same way. I don't think there's going to be that much scoring because the total is only 36 on this game. But I see it like you, 24-14, and the Jets cover. Wow. We agreed on every game in this first segment of the show, Fred. That might be a killer for us. I don't know. Okay, we'll be right back, folks, with more Football Forecast Weekly right after these short breaks. At the end of the week, I make my picks. I put them up on footballforecast.com. Anyone who wants to purchase my picks for the weekend can do so by going to footballforecast.com and clicking on the page to buy the picks. Now, also on that page, I have my money management system. So even if you don't want to buy the picks, go to footballforecast.com, read about the money management system, and learn how you can better become a winner at betting on pro football. So don't forget it. Write it down, footballforecast.com. Not only can you view the show there, but you can get my weekend selections there too. Hello, football fans. Dennis Tobler here with some great, exciting news for the 2024 season. You can watch Football Forecast Weekly on many outlets, from Astound TV Network to footballforecast.com, gamblingbroadcast.com, the Gambling Broadcast Network on YouTube, and many, many, many more stations. Also, I want to tell you that you can access the audio to Football Forecast Weekly on every podcast channel. So pick your favorite podcast channel and make sure you bookmark Football Forecast Weekly for every week. We're on Amazon Music or Apple Music, Amazon, all the way to Spotify and TuneIn. Every one of them carries Football Forecast Weekly. So if you want to win and you want to win big, stay tuned to Football Forecast Weekly each week right here on this station. Welcome back to Football Forecast Weekly, everyone. And I want to insist that all of you go to footballforecast.com and sign up for my weekend selections. Last week, I was 11-3 in college. And if you put it into the terms of my money management, we went up 48% on our bankroll on college Saturday alone. Now, on Sunday, let me tell you this. I went 5-0 in the Westgate contest. I went 5-0 in the circuit contest. And on one of my circuit tickets, I'm trying to lose. So I'm in both parts. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to lose. The circa big money pool, $1 million pools here. In the lose pool, I went 0-5. So I didn't lose a game last week. Okay, folks? If you want to win, you got to get my late selections, which will be text to you or email to you before the weekend. We do this show early in the week to give you a good feeling for what's going on for the games. My money managed selections come out at the end of the week, though. So be sure you sign up on footballforecast.com. Okay, let's get back to the handicap on the show here. And the next matchup is the Atlanta Falcons, and another, I don't know, boring matchup this week too. This week they play Tennessee at Tennessee. Alabama started a 1.5-point favorite. They're 2.5-point favorites now. It seems to me like Atlanta's better than these other teams like Tampa and some of the rest of them. And I think Tampa might come out with a win in this spot. Fred, what do you see here?
I want to go back to last week for a second. Ritter, the quarterback, of course, was a great quarterback at the University of Cincinnati. I think it was 46-6 in his 4 years. If you saw that game last week against Tampa, they were on the 5-yard line. He was running for a touchdown. He slows down. They knocked the ball through the end zone. So instead of a touchdown, it was a touchback. Now, luckily, people aren't talking about that because they found a way to win. but that could have been a 14-point switch. And what I'm basically saying is you're getting paid to play hard the entire time. Like you mentioned about Aaron Donald before, if you're thinking about retiring, then you retire. This is a young kid. Run the whole 5 yards. Don't run 4.5 yards. Again, I didn't have either team, and I didn't have a strong opinion one way or the other. So it's not something that hit me hard, but it could have hit somebody hard. And fortunately, they win, so nobody's talking about it. But we're talking about it right here on Football Forecast Weekly.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there's a lot of non-effort in the NFL every week. But you would think Ridder would not do that because his job isn't that stable in the first place. And getting that touchdown would have been a whole different story. And you're right, coming out with the win makes that mistake not look as bad as it was, but it was a horrible mistake. I'm going to take Atlanta. I don't know. Are you going with Tennessee?
No, I think I'll go with the Falcons here. Just, I think Ridder's very good. I mean, I think highly of him. That's why I was a little bit surprised that he slowed down before the end zone. So I'll go with the Falcons. Not a strong play, but a play.
I'll tell you right now, the bookies are very far off on their point spreads this week because so far we've picked almost every favorite, and favorites have been winning at a higher rate this year than normal. But look, some of these lines are way off base, and some of the backstories, like Fred just told you, makes a difference in the lines, and that's how you can determine a better opportunity. Like I say, last week I was 5-0 on my win tickets, 0-5 on my loss tickets. Couldn't did any better. I moved up the ladder quite a bit last week. So let's move on to another exciting matchup that we can draw off information from last week. That's the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers. I knew Denver was going to beat Green Bay by hook or by crook, and they beat them by 2 points. Green Bay started as a 1.5-point favorite here, but after Minnesota's big showing on Monday night or Sunday night, whichever they played, Minnesota is now a 1-point favorite in this matchup.
Well, again, if you can beat San Francisco, you can beat Denver. I don't think there's any question about that. And of course, if we saw the 375 passing yards, Denver's going to give up a lot of similar type yardage in this game.
Wait a minute. You're ahead of Minnesota and Green Bay.
Yeah, Green Bay is going to give up a lot of yardage here. And Green Bay's offense, and you made the case a couple of weeks ago, you're not a big Jordan Love fan. I wanted to give him a shot. So far, he has not shown me a lot. So, again, I think Minnesota, it's a small number. I think Minnesota will cover. And I think Minnesota can relax a little bit now in that they were talking about trading all their guys away. Of course, Halloween night is the trading deadline in the National Football League. I think Minnesota may go on a pretty good streak here now after the victory against the 49ers. And people can say again, hey, they're not going to be as high. They don't have to be as high against the Green Bay Packers. Again, Love has not shown me much. And again, maybe part of that is because Aaron Rodgers didn't help him for 3 years. But I don't know. But I assumed, having seen him play in college, he'd be playing better now. But he's not playing well at all. And A.J. Dillon, I keep waiting for him to score big, and he's not scoring so big. And so I'm going. Aaron Jones and Dillon together aren't doing a whole lot either. So I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings in this game.
Well, I have to agree with you. I think Green Bay is way down in the pack this year. I think they're still getting highly overrated. Jordan Love can't do anything. Their defense hasn't been that strong. You're right about Minnesota. The pressure's off at Minnesota now, and that was a big, big game for them to win. And it was a game that I didn't think San Francisco cared much about anyway. That was their second road game. They're 5-1 on the season. Even if they lose the thing, which they weren't planning on losing, but even if they lose it, they're 5-2 coming home, and they got a pretty good schedule the rest of the way out. Of course, nobody wants to play the 49ers. So Minnesota getting that win was big, should give them confidence. And, yeah, I don't think Green Bay puts up much of anything, and pretty soon the crowd's going to turn against them up there because there was a little I mean, Jordan Love is no good. I mean, he's just plain no good. I mean, he couldn't pull off anything in any of the weeks, and his last 3 weeks worth of statistics. I seen them, and they're not even repeatable. They're so bad. So I'm taking Minnesota in this one too. All right, now we're going to come to another matchup. Was an exciting game last week as the Browns actually pulled out the win over Indy. We had Indy plus the points, so we covered there. And that was a crazy game if you'll ever see one. This week we got the Browns at the Seahawks. The Seahawks are -3. Last week, Seahawks were one of your best bets. They were one of the best bets in all the contests here too, and they barely pulled out the point spread win, but they did. How do you see this one? The Browns at Seattle, Seattle 3.
The way I like Geno Smith. I mean, he waited a long time for this opportunity. Second year now in Seattle, doing nothing wrong. I think you got to lean toward the Seahawks. That's a short number. I thought it was going to be 4 or 5. If it's 3, I'm going with Seattle.
Well, I'm going to take Seattle too, and I'm going to say something about the Cleveland Browns. They don't have their quarterbacks. They don't have a quarterback. They were so lucky to beat a poor Indianapolis team. And we've heard all about the Cleveland Browns defense all year long, how tough they are, how you can't run on them and everything else. But they gave up 38 points against Indianapolis. Okay, so they give up 38 points. Luckily, win the game here. Not going to happen traveling out to the West Coast. Seattle's going to blow them off the board. Cleveland's not that good. They have nothing on offense to keep up with Seattle's scoring, and their defense is highly overrated. Once again, people, we're 1/3 of the way through the NFL season, and if you see a defensive team that's in the top 5 in one category or another, that doesn't mean anything, because some of these teams, off the top of my head, I can't think, but some teams have not played a tough schedule at all yet. So that's yet to be seen. I'm going to take Seattle in this one. I'm going to take it as a blowout too. I think they'll blow them out. This is the second week at home. They got a worthy scare last week. Let's put it that way. So they should be on top of their game this week and roll on by. All right, your favorite team now, Kansas City Chiefs on the road, 8-point favorites at the Denver Broncos. I pointed out earlier how lucky Denver is.
I keep hoping that Russell will show up. He's playing better, but this is Kansas City. And I don't think Mahomes wanted to think of himself as being out of the MVP race early in the season. So he's decided to play well, as the 440-something yards that he threw for last week would indicate. I think he's back. And as long as he's got Travis and the girlfriend, they're pretty tough to stop from that aspect. I don't think there's any question. Also, the interesting thing is they re-picked up Hardman after he's gone for 6 games, and they brought him back. Now, he's somebody he played last week, obviously, because he knows the system. So he's somebody that can catch some passes. So he splits it's hard to play his receivers. I play fantasy. It's hard to play his receivers in fantasy. You can play the tight end, obviously, in Kelsey, but it's hard to play the receivers because one week somebody's going to catch 5, and the next week that guy's not going to catch any or catch 1 or 2. From that aspect, he's tough to catch, but he's tough to figure out. But 400 and something yards last week, he's going to throw for probably the same. This week, I think at the end of the season, the Chiefs will be right there, like they always are, with the guy. Mahomes, if not the best, he's 1-2 in the National way as quarterbacks are concerned. I think the Chiefs will win easily, and she'll be smiling upstairs if she's there.
I love it. I love it, man. I'm a Taylor Swift fan. I love it when they show her. I hope she does go to Denver because I want to see it. I hate to do this, but I have to take the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator for Denver, they were lucky to stop last week's game, and before they got to 20 points, that would have beat Denver if they'd have got to 20 points. The first game, I think they've held anybody under that figure. They will get destroyed by Kansas City this week. Mahomes has way too many targets, and by you indicating you can't take his receivers on fantasy, that's because he spreads the ball out to everybody, which is going to make it very hard on a Denver defense who's played nothing but terrible all year long. And the Kansas City offense, all they'll do is that when it's passing situation, they'll rush Russell, put pressure on him, and he doesn't have anything to throw to really either. On both sides of the ball, I'm not impressed by Sean Payton's coaching either. I mean, his offensive prowess doesn't seem to be much, and that team's not that bad. The defense is Denver's problem. Vance Joseph is Denver's problem. Until they get rid of him, they're going to continue to lose. They're going to lose big in this one. Okay, let's move on down the road here. Well, let's stay on the West Coast. The Cincinnati Bengals are on the road to take the before-mentioned 49ers, who are coming off 2 straight losses. The 49ers are at home. The line's 6.
Offensively, Debo being gone is a major hit to the 49ers. They're different when he plays than when he doesn't play. Purdy threw the interceptions at the end, but he still played a fine game. Both quarterbacks on Monday night played an exceptionally fine game. I thought 22-17, and there was a lot of interesting calls near the end that we have time at the end of the show. Maybe we can talk about, but I'm going to take the points. Burrow's calf seems to be better. They had the week off. I'm going to take Cincinnati to play this one close. And in fact, I think they're going to play close, and I think that's going to be a high-scoring affair. So let's go 33-30, something like that. 49ers might win. I don't think they'll win by 6. So we'll see what happens. And, of course, that line came down because they lost. So you got to be careful. But I do think a lot of points will be scored in this game.
Yeah, Cincinnati's got their verve back a little bit, and they're playing much better. Burrow is healthy. That's a big deal. Look, this is my take, and a professional gambler, if you don't have these kind of takes when they're happening, you're not going to win over time. But my take is on Brock Purdy is the defensive coordinators haven't had enough time to stop all of the weapons he has. And with Deebo Samuel out for these weeks, you're right. That makes a big difference in who he can go to. It puts too much pressure on McCaffrey for that, too. I hate to do this. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to take the points here. I think San Francisco will win the game, but I think it'll be a hard-fought battle here. And San Francisco, they don't really lay the ball out there with Deebo off the field. You know what I mean? I mean, they don't have that many deep passes and deep attempts, where I think Cincinnati will probably have many deep throws in that game. So I, too, am going to take the Bengals and take the +6 points. Well, let's go on to another red-hot team. The Baltimore Ravens finally put it all together last week, are on the road to play the Arizona Cardinals. The line went shooting up from 7.5 to 9 after last weekend's action. Baltimore on the road -9.
I have no strong opinion on this one at all. When I first saw it, it didn't enchant me at all. We know Lamar Jackson had a great game last week, but we also know he's inconsistent. That's A. B, it's possible that Kyler Murray comes back, which, the bottom line is, I don't know if they're better off with Dobbs or Kyler Murray. It's just that Kyler Murray is making so much money that they're going to have to play him. And I'm not sure some of the teammates on Arizona are going to be too thrilled with that. I have a hunch they like even with the losses, they know this young kid from Tennessee is a good quarterback, good young quarterback. And so I have no strong opinion because of the fact this is an inconsistent situation. Jackson, again, has his up days and he's got his down days. He makes mistakes in weird times. So it's too many points for me. I'm passing on this one.
Well, I think Baltimore is very happy with what they did last week at home, and it was kind of a shock because after the first 2 touchdowns, the other team laid down. and Baltimore rolled over them. Look, 9 points is too many points in this game. I agree with you. Arizona, whether they play Murray or the other quarterback, it doesn't really matter here. It's the speed on defense and the way they fly around the field. And hopefully Baltimore's a little happy. They're sitting there with a great record. They're on the road playing a poor team. They're not going to go down there and expend any more energy than they have to. I'm going to take Arizona plus the 9 in this matchup too. So we've got one more break in the show for all of you people. Watch close what you see here, and we'll be right back and take a look at the Sunday night game and the Monday night game, and then we'll talk a little baseball.
Now Place Your Bets. This groundbreaking film details the dramatic rise of legal sports betting in Las Vegas and its growth into a multi-billion-dollar industry worldwide. Through in-depth interviews, personal accounts, and vintage footage, we highlight the key elements and milestones that shaped the sports betting industry into what it is today. This history also dovetails with the changing fortunes of Las Vegas as a gambling town at turns overseen by the elements of organized crime, corporate interests, and the U.S. government. Featured prominently in the film are pioneer odds makers and historians who witnessed these events. Today, betting on sports is a popular pastime and a lifestyle choice for many Americans. Its appeal incorporates the innate drive for competition and the rewards of winning. Watch Now Place Your Bets on Amazon Prime and NowPlaceYourBets.com.
At the end of the week, I make my picks. I put them up on footballforecast.com. Anyone who wants to purchase my picks for the weekend can do so by going to footballforecast.com and clicking on the page to buy the picks. Now, also on that page, I have my money management system. So even if you don't want to buy the picks, go to footballforecast.com, read about the money management system, and learn how you can better become a winner at betting on pro football. So don't forget it. Write it down, footballforecast.com. Not only can you view the show there, but you can get my weekend selections there too. Welcome back to Football Forecast Weekly, everyone. Make sure you watch NowPlaceYourBets.com. Check out footballforecast.com for your weekly winners. All right, I'm back now with Fred Wallen, my special guest host and co-host for this show. Let's take a look at the Sunday night matchup. The Chicago Bears are on the road to play the Los Angeles Chargers, who are finally getting off the road. The Chargers are 9-point favorites in this matchup to the lowly Bears. I'm going to let you have first crack. You're in Los Angeles, Fred. Tell us what you think.
You ever hear of Tyson Bagent?
No.
He's the quarterback for the Bears. Fields is not going to play. You know where he went to school, folks?
No.
Shepherd. Don't ask me. I think it's in West Virginia, a Division II school. He played 5 years. He broke every record in the school's history and some Division II records. He may be a better quarterback than Fields, but anyways, I don't think Brandon Staley is going to come back next year. I'm not sure he's going to make it through this season. He won a couple games that he shouldn't have won because he made mistakes. All he does is make mistakes. I can't give any points because he's the coach, and this is too many points. So I think it'll be closer. I don't think a lot of people will be watching it. Chicago's a big market. LA's a big market. But in the end, after what we had last Sunday, Miami and Philadelphia, this is a downer as far as that is concerned. So I got to take the points. I just don't think Staley can get it done, and we'll find a way to play this one close, and he might luck out. Herbert, of course, is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but he's not playing as well as normal. So I'm going to take the Bears and the big number.
Well, it's shocking we get to the end of the board where I finally am contradicting what your opinion is, because I don't think there's any way the Chicago Bears, And by the way, folks, what Fred just told us about their quarterback is why I call him the sports guru, because nobody knew anything about that. I never even heard of that college before. I most certainly didn't know that he broke NCAA 2 records and stuff like that. And he may turn out to be a better quarterback than Fields. People need to listen to that kind of information from you. But in this game, I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt on the road. I think the Chargers are pissed off a little bit. And I think Herbert would like to be able to blow away a team sometime so he didn't have to do it. My mind keeps going back to the time when Washington beat Chicago at Chicago 40-20. Okay? My mind cannot erase that terrible Chicago Bears team. And now they're going without a quarterback, and they're going to go to the West Coast and try to play when everybody's watching on a night game. I think the Chargers beat them by 30. I hate to say it, but he's going to throw deep. Chicago cannot stop the deep ball, and Herbert's going to throw deep, and they may beat him by a ton. So we're opposite on that one. Thank goodness we don't agree on everything. People will think this show's fixed, Fred. Okay, now the Monday night matchup with our own Las Vegas Raiders here going on the road to take the Detroit Lions on. I think Vegas showed their weaknesses last week, even though Detroit didn't show much. They went from a 7.5-point favorite up to a 9-point favorite. So the Lions are 9-point favorites for the Monday night game.
Lions played about as poorly as you can play against Baltimore last week. Never in the game. It was, I mean, you couldn't watch it. You really couldn't. Goff and the team together, and the coach, Campbell, did not show anything against Baltimore, which was surprising, I think. But here, they're playing the Raiders. I don't care if it's Jimmy G. I don't care if it's Brian Hoyer. I don't care if it's O'Connell. They're not beating Detroit in this circumstance. Lions, big time on Monday night.
You know, we were talking about coaches who may lose their job. McDaniels isn't going to lose his job, but he should. The Detroit Lions played horrible and gave up last week. You know, I mean, they gave up. I don't want to hear any more about their coach. I don't want to hear any more about Goff. They gave up. They got 2 touchdowns scored against them, and they cashed it in. They're not going to cash it in on Monday night. The Raiders have nothing. And I mean nothing. I mean, and if they want to make a hero out of the flying tattooed man, go ahead and make a hero out of him, because he's not a hero. He's out of position. He's running around altering everybody else's job, invading their territory that they're supposed to be watching. And if he does get a sack and you're still losing by 2 touchdowns, you don't need to fly away like you're winning some kind of trophy. Okay? I mean, this guy will definitely be a shoe-in for All-Pro, but if you want to go pick apart the films, I can pick apart to death all of the bad plays that he's made and the wrong position moves he's moved to that has disrupted the whole entire defense there. And on offense, McDaniels is a terrible offensive coach. And it just goes to show that he didn't learn anything from his years in Denver. He didn't learn anything from his years at the Patriots. And now we're stuck with him here in Las Vegas. And listen, the town, the crowd, and everybody except for Mark Davis is against this Las Vegas Raiders group. So it's kind of a big battle here. He thinks they're doing well. Nobody in town likes this embarrassment that they are, because they were embarrassing last week. And you're right about the quarterbacks, too. It doesn't matter if Garoppolo plays or if Aiden McConnell, the rookie from Michigan, plays, or if the one that played last week, what's his name? If he plays. Yeah, Hoyer. It doesn't make any difference. They're all one and the same here. Detroit's going to win this one big. Neither the Sunday night game or the Monday night game is going to be watched and liked by very many people. The World Series will be on, so that's what we'll be watching. We were going to have you some input on the World Series, but we're running out of time. Fred, you have one last comment?
When the Dodgers and the Braves both lost, I lost interest. Those teams were fun to watch. We're taping this on Tuesday. I play fantasy baseball also. So I'm hoping the Diamondbacks score a lot of runs at Philly tonight. so the Diamondbacks make it to the World Series just because I'm playing fantasy. But I really, when the Dodgers go out and the Braves go out, Fred goes out. End of my story.
Well, so far it's been a pretty exciting year in Major League Baseball playoffs because all the underdogs have won a lot of the time, and it has made a lot of money for people who know how to bet baseball. I'll leave it with that and Fred's last comments. I want to thank everybody for viewing, and for Fred Wallen in Los Angeles, Alan Jett in Tennessee, and myself in Las Vegas. This is Dennis Tobler saying goodbye and good luck.